Great Debaters Contest is powered by Blaze, by Safaricom, the Youth Network.
Welcome to this phenomenal episode of the Great Debaters Contest. We have pitched camp in Kakamega County. I am Mariam Bishar.
And I am Austin Nyumbok. Our motion today is use of contraceptives is the only proper way to prevent teenage pregnancy. We have Silungai going against Ebubole. Whoever will be the victor. Mariam, who do you think?
I don't know, Austin. Let's let them answer that question. First proposer, you have 3 minutes.
I salute you all. My name is Swafula John from Silungai Boys, and I'm standing here to propose the motion that says the use of contraceptives is the only proper way to prevent early teenage pregnancy. I want to explain more on what contraceptive means. Contraceptives, these are birth control measures that enables one to enjoy sex without the risk of getting pregnant. So just some of the examples of contraceptives are the cervical cup, the sterilization, the contraceptive implant, pills, condom, just to mention but a few. And to start with, I want to propose this motion strongly by saying that it is true to say that contraceptive is the only way to prevent early teenage pregnancy, because if you talk about the issue of girl-boy relationship at an early age, you find that a girl and a boy get involved in a relationship, and this may lead to sexual intercourse, which may lead to early pregnancy. And if I am a father and my child gets pregnant at an early age, it will be very hard for me to actually support this girl. You know, you find that in a situation like the girl is chased out of home, she has to go and look for another place, or she's forced to get married to that man or that boy who made her pregnant. So I'm sure, and I'm supporting this point by saying that when we use contraceptives as young men or young ladies, we are going actually to prevent this early pregnancy, which also prevent us from actually being pushed into early marriages. Secondly, I want to talk about this issue of abortion. You find that a girl is pregnant, and because of depression, because of how other people look at her, she is not really courageous to stand in front of people. So she's so determined to actually make sure that everything, she is determined to make sure that she destroys that baby in her womb. This will lead her into going to doctors. People who are not so well trained. People use very much crude weapons, which could actually injure them. This could also lead to a lot of bleeding. It could cause anemia, and it could also cause death in the process. So I'm actually supporting that contraceptive is the only way to actually prevent early teenage pregnancy. And lastly, as I conclude, when we talk about education, you know, when you are pregnant and you're a girl, it is not really easy for you to continue with education. Lastly, as we talk about the current issue in Tanzania, Magufuli, who is John Pombe Magufuli, the president of Tanzania, say that if you are a girl and you're in school and you're pregnant when you're there, it is, you know, your education ends there. There's no other issue you're going to do, because if you go to school, you're going to teach those other students. So I'm saying this. If you actually get pregnant when you're in school, you will be demoralized and you will not be able to achieve your goals because you will be forced to drop out of school. Thank you so much.
Opposition will hear your opening statements. You have 3 minutes.
Before you reach at any decision of making something relevant to the public, you must consider both the two parties. That is, the negative effects and the positive effects. I go by Katam Kennedy, and I strongly oppose the motion. Just to go against what has been said by our first speaker, that when students get pregnant, it will interfere with academics. Right now, the government of Kenya has innovated the readmission scheme, where students have the pleasure to be in school at the same time they are pregnant. And this one will still allow them to continue their academics, and when the time of giving birth reaches, then they'll be allowed to leave for 2 or 3 months, then they'll be back in school. The issue of boy-girl relationship, as students, you don't need to think about it, because a student who is determined and a student who want to pursue academics, and the one who knows the benefits of academics, do not have time to engage in boy-girl relationship because he will put into considerations the side effects of it. Back to my points. Number one, the use of contraceptives in teenagers may encourage moral decadence. This comes whereby we find that the teens are sure that they have the preventive methods, and therefore they'll do it without knowing that these are just they are items made out of man. And as you know, they are prone to wear and tear. And therefore, that one disadvantages the contraceptives as being used. Point number two, in consideration with the large number or the many side effects of contraceptives, let's talk of the irregular menstruation periods and excessive gain of weight, while others cause permanent barrenness. For instance, sterilization. Point number three, most of contraceptives are only meant to serve a sole purpose. For instance, the pills. The pills only prevent pregnancies, and therefore they do not partake any role in preventing the STIs. And that's why I strongly oppose the motion. The last point, use of contraceptives should not be encouraged because Kenya, we have marginalized areas like Isiolo, Garissa, of which the hospitals are far, they are very many miles away. And therefore, the teens in rural areas are not allowed to access to such contraceptives. And this one truly disadvantages them. Thank you. I rest my case.
Thank you. Rebuttals now. We'll begin with the proposing team. You have 3 minutes.
I'm Wilson Kipkemboi from Silungai Boys. I would like to challenge the opposers by telling them that, you see, we are in a changing world. And once we have somebody like Martin Luther King, once he said that if you don't embrace change, then the change will overtake you. So it is good that because we are in a changing world, then we must embrace change and accept what is going on right now. The researchers have said that 80% of all women in the world can get pregnant within 1 year if contraceptives are not used. And you see, if 80% of all women in the world, 80% of all teenage girls in the world get pregnant within 1 year, then I'm really telling you that this world will be filled up. And if this world will be filled up, then our nations, the world, will have no resources to contain the large population of human beings. So I'm telling the opposers that it is good that we use the contraceptives. Coming back to my points. One, contraceptives helps to reduce the large number of street children in our towns. All the cities in the world have a large number of street families. And these street families are got from by, let's say, many teenage girls who are impregnated at the school age. Maybe some are at school, and when a girl gets pregnant and the parents are very tough outside there, then this girl will seek some ways to make sure that after giving birth to the child, then the child is drawn away. And once that child is thrown away, then maybe by good luck, somebody else will take care of that child for just a short period of time, and eventually that child will find himself or herself in the streets. And that's why we have a lot of street families, not only here in Kenya, but in the whole world. If you see a country like India, New Delhi is leading in the number of street families, and it is because of such a cases. So it is good that we use contraceptives. Number two, contraceptives helps to reduce the large number of deaths occurring during the birth of children. You see, when a girl gets pregnant, a young teenage girl of between age bracket 12 to 19, then that girl is not, scientifically, the girl is not prepared, or the young teenage girl is not prepared to accommodate the fetus and eventually the birth of the baby. So this child can lead this young girl to death, and once the girl dies during childbirth, then that's a loss to the family of the girl, that's a loss to the community, that's a loss to a great nation like Kenya and all other nations in the world. And it is not only the life of the teenage girl that is affected, but also the life of the child that is being born. For there might be complication, and due to those complications at childbirth, then the child might also die, and that will be a great disadvantage to all of us. Lastly, I would like just to ask the girls, how many of you have ever used contraceptives?
Opposition, you have 3 minutes to give your rebuttal.
I go by Sheila from Ebubole. I will challenge the second speaker from the proposition side by saying a person aged 12 is not a teenage. Teenage age from the age of 13 to 19. The issue of the population growth. Back to the biblical, in the story of creation, Genesis, if I'm not wrong, God commanded human beings to go into the earth and multiply. By that, we are adhering to God's commandments. Use of contraceptives have led to conflict between religions and the government. For example, the Muslims and the Catholic religion strongly condemn the use of contraceptives because it's against the God's creation commandments. Point number 2, use of coils as a contraceptives. When placed in uterus of the female, it does not work for all girls. Thus, can cause reactions for those learned biology, book 2, about the rhesus factors. These coils might be treated as foreign particles into our bodies, then causing reactions. A contraceptive like a pill, and I'll give an example. The Depo-Provera, that is a pill, leads to irregular menstruations cycles, and it interferes with the concentration of the girls in class. For example, imagine you are a girl, a teacher is explaining something in class, and maybe poses a question in mathematics, then you have to go and work in the blackboard. Then just wake up, you found your skirt is wet. Imagine you are in a mixed school. With that, I rest my case.
Thank you very much to the audience. The proposing team have been asked if they feel that it's okay for teenagers to have sex now that they endorse the use of contraceptives. And the opposition have been asked, why is it that girls in rural areas do not have access to contraceptives? We'll have them respond. Third proposer, you have 3 minutes.
Take up this scenario where you have advised your son or your daughter to keep away from someone. Take up this scenario where you have taught your children so many values that helps him to live a healthy lives with the other one, with each and everyone in this world, and he refused to hold on to them. How can that be? So telling us that having sex when he's teenage is not fair, and using that as an excuse not to use contraceptives, it is not actually the best thing, the best thought anyway, because these teenagers, we have many topics, we have many programs that show that teachers use to abstain from sex. But what has happened? The more cases of teenage sex is continuing to be experienced in the world, not only in Africa, but also even in America, in Britain, in China, in India, everywhere. So the use of contraceptives is only measure that to prevent the early pregnancies. They say that when you give a person something and he appreciates it, then it means that you're helping that person. Because these children, these teenagers are appreciating for your support as parents, as teachers, as leaders. So back to my points. And before that, I'm Billy Kayamba from Silungai Boys. The use of contraceptives enables a country to make an accurate planning of its citizens. Why do I say this? It's because when we have an accurate data, when we have an accurate numbers of teenagers, and we have the accurate numbers of elderly people, the government is able to sit down and write down or square things out as the way they're supposed to be. Instead of planning for children, yet those children are giving back to another children. It doesn't make sense. And this planning enables the development of a country. Just imagine, or close your eyes and imagine a country where teenagers give birth to a teenager, and the number of teenagers in the world currently is higher than the numbers of the elderly men or women. Just imagine that. Having such a population multiplying itself, it's unbearable. It cannot happen. It encourages also healthy life, because a man and a teenage girl can live his life to the fullest and enjoy his life free from STIs and other diseases caused by sexual intercourse. With that, I come to my end.
Opposers, you have 3 minutes to answer the audience questions.
I'm yawning because I'm very hungry, and the main reason is that the government, the money that will be used by the government to invest in other important activities, they are used to buy the contraceptive. This money will be taken to other areas. They will be invested in other areas and used to provide valuable services such as food to areas that are not accessible. To answer the question that it was posted out, we have other alternative ways of controlling population. It don't mean that when you don't use contraceptive, population won't be controlled. You can abstain as well. Yeah, you can abstain. And abstaining has no harm. Will you die if you abstain? You cannot die. The main reason why we said that reserves or marginal areas cannot access the contraceptive is that those areas such as Isiolo, they are marginal areas, and the hospitals are located long distance from the residents. And this means that they have to walk for long kilometers so as to access a hospital. So when we say that they won't access, we mean that contraceptives, the contraceptives are medicinal in nature, and they will only be provided by hospitals. You cannot find anybody who will just give you the contraceptives. The hospitals are where you can access your contraceptive without any doubt, because you'll be sure that this contraceptive that I'm taking will help me in this or another way. So we say that marginal areas cannot access contraceptive. That's why we don't want contraceptives in our country. Thank you.
Final statements now. Proposition, you have 1 minute.
Once again, I'm Kimeli Kipkemba Wilson from Silungai Boys. There's a quote by Francis Imbuga in his book, Betrayal in the City, that says, like caged birds, we move, but in a cave. So I believe that here in this country of Kenya and all over the world, it is good that we embrace the use of contraceptives so that the lives of these young girls are catered for. Because as we leave them to do their own things, then there will be high rate of births, like I said earlier. And this high birth rate is because of most teenage girls are left by their parents on their own, and they can just do what they want. And again, there's peer influence. Young girls as young as the age of 17 join universities and other colleges, and you see, when they are there, they are alone. They are not with their parents. They are not with anyone who looks after them, so they can do anything they like. So, and because they can do anything they like, then these girls' lives can be endangered, because when once gives birth, then our education will be in danger. So I would like to just urge my opposers to come and join us, and I raise my case.
Opposers, you have 1 minute for your final submission.
When I was told with my teacher of English that today I'm coming to Kakamega School to attend a great debaters contest, I was very happy. But right now, my happiness has turned into sorrow just because my fellows are proposing the motion, which is truly unproposable. Contraceptives cannot be the best. In consideration with the large number of side effects it has, just as the first speaker defined the motion and said that they are devices that also reduce the chances of getting pregnancy. So we don't want to reduce the chances, but we want to eradicate it completely. We can employ the use of abstinence. That one goes at no cost. We can introduce sex education in schools.
To the proposers, you were in support of this, and I expected you to convince me how it is the only proper way. Probably I expected you highlight some other ways or methods that people have tried to adopt, but they have not worked. And again, to the opposers, again, you didn't come out strongly to show that actually it's not the only proper way. We have alternative means, except for the final submissions where somebody tried to highlight those alternatives, but in the final submissions, to me, it was a bit late.
Sheila, a very good presenter, very charismatic, good, but you were driven so much by your audience and you end up even forgetting yourself, but that was good presentation. Emmanuel, your sentiments were there. You're very baseless. You're telling us about the connection between your hunger and the money used by the government. There was no connection, but it was also a good presentation. Then there's a member who quoted Imbuga's text. And you know, when you make quotes, you have to give us the exact quotes for authenticity. So you didn't give us the right quote, but that was good presentation.
The question to you, Ebubole, would have been, what's your stand? You want to take one stand that has worked based on research. For example, teenage pregnancies in this country could be high, but in some other nation it could be low. What is it that they are doing that we could embrace? Does that make sense? All right? And that's what you use based on facts. Silungai, you want to have momentum. When the first debater comes in and starts at a very good pace, you want to keep the same pace all through, because you know what? He may start very well and then he may kill that momentum. And to you, the question was this: give us facts on how this has worked over time elsewhere as well, and then prove your point based on the facts and then argue your points. So from where I sit down, I feel there was no justice to this motion and more could have been desired. All the best.
Ebubole Secondary School, the judges awarded you 60%. Please give them a round of applause. Silungai Boys, the judges saw it fit to award you 64%. Please give them a round of applause.
A big thank you to the two teams on stage and to you, our studio audience, for supporting us and being a great audience. Thank you for watching. Remember to give us your feedback on #GDC for SDGs. I am Mariam Bishar.
And I am Austin Yumbok. Catch you next time.
The Great Debaters Contest is powered by Blaze, by Safaricom, the Youth Network.